Welcome to the Sports Car Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Oh, day 2.5 of day 3 of the National. I just got back to my hotel room Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. So I'm going to knock this out quick before I head over to the Soo Expo. I have to start out by saying I was wrong with something I said on the last episode. I talked about my bag of VIP crap, and two things have changed. One, the parking pass was worthless because they're not charging for parking, and they're letting anybody park in the VIP parking. And when it's full, they just send you over to the general admission parking. So I don't know what their plans were, and maybe it all fell apart because of traffic, but the parking pass meant nothing now. That was one of the big sellers online. If you looked, when you started going up levels of the VIP pass, it added parking to it, but turns out parking is now free, and that was worthless. And getting in and out, I mean, the traffic is just insane getting in and out. It's nothing but traffic. When you get within a quarter mile of coming in, you're stopped, and it's probably 20 minutes, 25 minutes to park the car, and another 10 or 15 minutes of walking until you actually get into the show and get through the crowds. Back to the bag, though. One thing that I thought was crap were these VIP cards that came wrapped in this clear cellophane. There's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. So, and there's Victor Wembanyama. These are cards that I would keep anyways because they're players that I like and collect. But I was at the Soo Expo last night, and somebody said, "Do you buy?" And I said, "Yeah." They pulled the cards out, and they had them in a penny sleeve and a top loader. And I said, "What are you asking on these?" He said, "Well, I think they're going for $50. I'm like, $50? Didn't I just get that in my VIP bag? And he looked at me, he goes, "No, I think they came out of the silver thing." And I'm like, "No, pretty sure these came out of the VIP bag." He says, "Well, people are selling them on eBay." And I went up and looked, and yeah, some people like $39, $49. It's like, really? I thought those were crap. I came home and penny sleeved them and top loaded them. So, I mean, there's probably only value on it right now. Why this is happening, the National is happening. I mean, people are like first to market, right? Get them out there immediately. People at home with FOMO are like, "Oh, okay, I'll buy them." And I would imagine a few weeks from now, there'll be like a $5 card or something like that. But apparently, right now they have some value. So we traded one crap thing for one good thing, right? We just flip flopped on that. I don't know if you hear this air conditioner. I'm right next to it, but I am going to give me a minute. I'm going to turn it off. All right. Sorry about that. It's in the hotel room. You do what you can. So I met up with my guy Brian today. My in the military, my buddy the Colonel. He writes for Beckett magazine, and we met up to have just a little sit down. He's a great guy. I love spending time with him. And I got talking about the bag and the bag of stuff, and he started to explain to me how valuable the stuff in the bag was. The program with the floor plan and the boot numbers, and he told me there were so many great articles in there. I don't know how many people read them. I certainly don't. I know when I came into, once you got through the VIP area, when you've actually picked up your bag on the other side, there's the Ludex VIP lounge, and there were tables. People were just dumping most of the stuff out. And if I realized these cards were worth anything, I bet you people just threw those out there too. I would have grabbed them as well. But he was telling me that there's some valuable stuff inside that bag if you're willing to read. Um, but did agree that most of this stuff is fluff, aka crap. So yesterday, day 2, was a lot like day 1. A lot of walking around, a lot of looking. I did try to negotiate on a few cards yesterday that just never happened. And I understand it's early, and now it's, Wednesday was day 1, and I wasn't even about to offer looking at prices. And I know people are selling. I mean, I'm watching deals going back and forth. So it's not like people aren't selling, they are. But, for me, I'm more specific of what I'm looking to buy out there. And I expect, just because I sell this stuff too, I expect when I'm putting that stuff out that I'm probably not going to have, as big as an audience as I'd like, right? So putting out the women's soccer, the women's basketball, besides Caitlin Clark, right? Um, there's not a lot of people out there that are coming to buy that stuff. So when somebody shows up, if I was selling it, I would expect to negotiate a little bit. And even I thought to myself, okay, by day 2, you start coming up and saying, hey, where do you need to be on that? And still way over comps. And I'm like, well, and then they say, where would you be? And I said, I'd be a lot lower. I'd be down, at the, they're like, oh yeah, I couldn't, I couldn't get there at all. Okay, I understand. I'm not going to argue with anybody. It's your card, your price, and I agree on that. So, you know, I figure another day goes by, if the card is still there, and even by tomorrow, if the card is still there, maybe they'd be willing to, come down a little bit on the price. But I can always come back, can always swing back around, as people say that they will. But yesterday, I didn't pick up any cars. And a lot of people complaining about how high the prices on cards are. One of the things I've heard from a number of people is, man, I could have just stayed home and bought these cards on eBay for cheaper. And I mean, I agree, but how could you resist being in the middle of it all, right? How could you resist coming to a show like this? It's once a year. It brings people from all over the world and brings out cards that probably only come out once a year. I'm still searching for a few cards that I haven't seen at all here, but this show, and I'm going to say this, and I have nothing to back it up. I have no explanation, but I want to say this show just feels different. And it's not because I'm walking the show versus being set up. I just think the whole feel of this show makes me feel more like a Philly show or a culture collision show. Something, it just doesn't give me the vibe. Besides all the people there, right, and a lot of the bigger companies in the hobby that are all set up, in another room in the back. The show itself just gives me the feel of just a big show, and it doesn't give me the feel of this is the national, right? I don't know. It's hard to explain. I said this to a couple people, and they say, I know what you mean. And like you can't say, well, this is wrong, or this is not right, or this is different. There's like nothing. It's just as you're walking around, it's just giving you that feel like it's not. It reminded me of the Toronto Expo. That similar thing. It's like, and that's their national, right? In Canada, that's what they consider their national. But it just felt like it should feel bigger, and it should feel more amazing. And this year, it doesn't have that feel. I've been thinking about this for 2 days to try to say it, but I just don't know how to. I can't put my finger on it just yet, and I don't know if it's because and I don't want to say I'm a little aggravated, because when you pull in, you're starting the day with traffic. You're starting the day with a line to get in, and you get in, and the internet, they give you free internet because there's no cell service inside there. So you're forced to use the internet. But then all of a sudden, the internet just goes out in certain places of the room. It just all of a sudden you're walking and you could be talking or doing something and just dies. And then you're like, looping around trying to get a signal back so you can either reconnect your phone call or whatever. So I don't know if there's like these little aggravating things that are happening that are taking away from the experience. Could be, or it could not. But it's just the way I feel on that. And maybe another day or two, I'll be able to put my finger on it and explain it a little better. Once you get inside the show, I talked about it taking time to get in, but once you get inside, there's just lines everywhere, and you expect that. I mean, I expect that any show I go to, you're going to have lines for food, lines for drink, but usually not lines for the bathroom. This is the first show I've been to where you have to go to the bathroom, you have to stand in line, you have to wait in line. Today, because I met my guy Brian downstairs in the Ludex VIP lounge, I realized there were some bathrooms down there, and the lines were a lot shorter down there than they were up on the main floor. If you have to go, you're probably standing in line for 5 to 8 minutes, trying to get in to go. So that's another thing, just waiting in a line to go to the bathroom is a little aggravating. Day 1 and 2. For me, like I said, browsing the floor, being able to walk from booth to booth, and seeing everybody's cases, making mental notes of things, without really bumping into people or having to wait or stand back. That was great. That was great those first couple days. Today, day 3, really getting crowded. I identified tables the last couple of days of things I wanted to go see, and now today it's like those big aisles I talked about. Yeah, they're just completely filled up now with people, and I'm glad they made those aisles extra big because, I mean, I think by tomorrow it's just going to be insane in there. And I've talked to people today that are like, yeah, no, this is it. We're leaving tonight. Today we'll leave early today. We'll go, do a couple of things locally, and then we're just going to either leave tonight or first thing in the morning. That, they've done this enough that they know by late in the day, Friday and Saturday, that it's just, it's so crowded that it almost doesn't make sense to try to go in. And I'll tell you what, the people that are buying cars with the signs for buying have some of the longest lines in the place, that people are just lined up trying to, sell cards to people, to dealers and other companies. It's crazy how big those lines are, and how many cards people in there are trying to sell. Yesterday and today, I left the show early to come back and prepare for, Soo Expo. But even surprised at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, exiting the show, I'm in traffic trying to pull out. So it's I know they've had it here before. I don't know what they've done in the past with the parking, or if it's just been this bad all the time. Some people I've talked to, and I've asked that question, they're like, I never remember it being this crazy to pull in. And they think maybe because it's just the hobby is growing and there's just more and more people coming, and more cars. It's a place that everybody has to drive to, right? In Chicago, most people flew in and stayed at a hotel that they could walk there, so there wasn't all this traffic getting in. But here, this place is like on its own island here, so no matter where you're coming from, there's nothing close by. You have to drive or be driven to here. The Soo Expo, right? So that started last night. It was busy. There was a line to get in 6 o'clock. There was a line forming by 5:15 outside. So we had a good line when the doors opened at 6 o'clock. It was busy all night. And believe it or not, this is very funny. I sold more football cards than soccer cards last night. And people were comparing to me. They're like, you're like the soccer dealer at a card show. being somewhat the minority and the only one in the room to have football, right? But I mean, I said from the beginning, I was bringing everything. I was bringing my women's soccer, my WNBA, my pop culture, and my football. But I got 4 cases and I put it all out. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I sold a bunch of football, and you know what? I priced them reasonably too. The football has been priced very reasonable, and people coming up and they're like, "Oh, finally!" Like prices that are decent, that are not way over comp. So, that also helps too to make some sales. And like I said, right, it's okay to zig when everybody's zagging, right? Why not? But my guy Scott at WCO Cars, man, did he do a really good job here setting this whole thing up? And not only for us as a dealer or just, for people to come, but I mean, he really went, over and beyond. There was food all night. Now I'm right at the front door when you come in, and kind of angled across from me is where, like a kind of a kitchen serving area where they're just, and all night they just kept putting pizzas. Last night was pizza. I don't know if it's pizza again tonight or it's something different, but there was salad, there were pizzas, and the hot pizzas just kept coming out all night. People were coming in, and I said, "Hey, there's pizza over there. Grab some pizza." So there was anybody who showed up had hot pizza all night. They had a little dessert thing. They had cookies and stuff that came out after that. And then later on, I mean, the show went to midnight, right? So later on, 10:30, 11, they had the little, sandwiches coming out with bags of chips and drinks, waters and stuff. It was just amazing. And people were so appreciative to be able to come there and eat. And, somebody says, "Oh, free food." You show up, you're like, "Oh, who's going to eat this?" But I mean, people were super excited to come in and like, "Are you kidding me? This is all free?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's all free. Come on in." And even after the dinner rush, started at 6 o'clock. So even after the dinner rush, people started using the tables that were, set up for people to sit and eat their food when they got there. People started throwing all their cards out on the tables for, like having their own like mini trade night over there. So, people were happy to do that too. The show went to midnight. I think most people were leaving by 11:15, 11:30. I know I packed up at 11:30 and I headed out. I was absolutely exhausted. Didn't get back to the whole hotel room till midnight. Hence why you're getting this episode in the middle of the afternoon the next day and not last night, or should I say early this morning, right? Because it would have been early this morning. So yeah, it was definitely a great experience. When I'm done here, I'm going to head back over there for day 2, and I'm looking forward to it. A lot of fun over there, and that place, the design of that place was an enormous parking lot, and the building was huge with lots of tables in there. Just a great setup overall. I'm happy I got involved there. One thing, huge shout out, even though, and I talked about this, that I missed the window to get my appointment at Panini. Someone who will who will remain unnamed did get me in to swap out my redemption for a black box. So you know who you are. Huge shout out to them. I was super excited to be able to get in and do that. So I was happy. I had a few pickups today. So today I ended up making a round again. I probably had 6 or 7 cards on my radar at the National on the main floor. And 4 of them ended up being sold. So today, when I got back there today and I walked around and I got back to some of those tables, those cards were sold. But these are the 3 pickups that I did have today. Sabrina Ionescu. It's the Panini Revolution. This is auto. Hold that up. If you're on YouTube, auto number to 99. The Bowman U Chrome Paige Becker's Pink. PSA 10. And someone I didn't mention, but that I was looking for, but a card I ended up picking up because I liked the card. I liked it. It was a Pop 1, and it's a PSA 10 with an Auto 10. And it is also Bowman U. It's Cameron Brink, Prospects autograph. So I'm happy to have that as well. And I think with her tearing her ACL, probably, really reduce the price on this card. Um, Although the price, you could see where the prices had dropped because I kind of, I looked at it a couple times, comped it out a couple times where the prices really dropped and they were kind of coming up again. And usually I don't buy cards on the come up, when it's on its way up. But as it was a card that, I know it happens to everybody. Sometimes you see a card and you can't unsee it, right? And you think about it and you walk away and you're like, man, I should have bought that card. I'm going to walk back. If it's there, I think I'll go back and strike up a conversation and negotiate. And I did, and I talked to the girl who had it, and we couldn't come up with a, get the deal done earlier in the morning. And I had some meetings I had to go to, so I went off. And then I came back and I kind of walked up. She said, "You came back." And I said, "You still have the card?" And I said, "My offer still stands." And we ended up getting a deal done. I didn't get it as low as I want. She didn't get it as high as she wanted, but we found a happy medium, and I was happy to get the card. So I'm back to the Soo Expo tonight, and I've got a few cards I've identified over there. Although one guy has a card that I really want, that he was leaving early, and he said, "I'm not going to be there tomorrow, but I'll be back on Saturday." So I'm probably going to have to wait till Saturday to negotiate on the one card I'm really looking for. And I mentioned meetings today. I had some really great meetings today with some people in the hobby that I think they'll make great interviews. So I'm lining up some interviews for future episodes to bring you guys some really good content. I've been running into so many listeners out there, not only on the main floor at the National, but at Soo Expo. So it's nice. It's great. And if you're out here and if you're listening, come find me. If you see me, come say hello. One of the things, last thing I'll point out, I skipped over before, but trying to communicate with people on the show floor, the internet is really spotty. So there's really no cell service in the building. Outside the building, there's cell service, but once you get in the building, there's like little to no cell service. So you're kind of forced to use the internet. And for whatever reason, the internet just drops out randomly in different places, different spot. And I don't know if it's just being so overused by everybody that it's just becoming overwhelmed and shutting down and resetting or something like that. But trying to communicate with people, you're saying, somebody says, "Hey, where do you want to meet?" And you respond back, "I want to meet at," and then you're looking at your phone and it says SOS on the top. You're like, oh, you got to run around and walk outside to get a signal so you know that your message is being sent. And then you're wondering, like, did that person get it? Or maybe they don't have, they don't realize that they're not getting their messages. So it just makes it hard to try to communicate with people there when that's going out, as well as comp cards, right? So it's always good. That spreadsheet is always good to have in case you don't have internet or you can't get a signal. I tried live streaming from Soo last night, the expo, and the internet wasn't consistent. It would start, it would stutter, it would lag. So I just didn't want to, leave it unattended and not know what was going on with it. So I scrapped that idea. So there won't be any live streaming from there. So that's it. That's it for day 2 and half of day 3. And you'll get another episode. Not sure when. Maybe won't be tonight. Maybe tomorrow afternoon again, or it may be Sunday or Monday. I'm not sure, but stay tuned for the next episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please like, definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.